Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. We're back again today with yet another deck tech, and today we're going back to the wonderful world of Neon. Neon Dynasty is where we're looking today, and this is a legendary creature that's been making quite a splash in Pioneer. Well, it was making a splash in Pioneer. I've lost track of Pioneer at the moment, to be fair, but it was making a splash. I suspect it is still out there somewhere and is played by people, but it's a bit of a niche kind of deck type from my point of view. It's not something you expect to see in a lot of Pioneer tournaments. But if you weren't prepared for this card going back about 4 months, you were losing to it, and you were losing badly to it because anyone who could see it was playing it. So, without further ado, today's deck tech, as you already know, is Greasefang, Okiba Boss. If I've just killed that name, I apologise to anyone I've just offended. 1 and a white and a black for a 4/3 legendary rat pilot. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, return target vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste until the end of turn, and then bounce it back to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. I like this card, it's fun. There have been a lot of vehicles recently coming through all the sets. We've seen quite a few come through. Not many pure black, not many pure white, a lot of colourless ones, which is fantastic. Because the Brothers' War, from my point of view, for Commander, has given this archetype a real boost in the last few weeks, and we'll get to it. So, what are we looking at? Well, we're looking at this. We're looking at 36 lands, 14 creatures, and 49 other spells to go with our Greasefang. As you can imagine, the usual suspects are in here from a land point of view. Field of the Dead is quite important in my mind in this thing because it produces us zombies that we can use to crew all the vehicles we've got coming up. So we're not playing that many creatures, only 14. So we do need a way of getting these into play. And once we can get those 7 different land types and field, every land we play is going to give us a zombie which we can use to crew something with. So bear that in mind. Ramp wise, Mox Tantalite, Soul Talisman, Mana Crypt, Soul Ring, and Arcane Signet is where I went to. Now you can play more. You could play Charcoal Diamond. You could go off and play Mana Vault. You could go off and play anything else you want to. It may be worth it if you've got the cards. I was trying to keep, I've got them on MTG. I haven't got them in real life. But I decided just trying to stick with it this way. So that's where we are with the mana ramp. The rest of the deck is really around all the artifacts we can get into play. Because what we want to do is get a cheap vehicle into play, crew it, and then use the cheap vehicle to crew another vehicle, because I think you can still do it, and then really go up the ramp that way. So that's what we're trying to do. So let's go through the cards. Anything you're not sure about, we're going to do. One thing I will say is I'm trying to do this a little bit differently for us, because we do want to try and get the vehicles in the graveyard. So there's a few cards in here that you're going to probably go, huh? But that's because we've got the vehicles in the graveyard for when we cast Greasefang. Idealistically, turn 3, we'll be playing Greasefang after discarding Parhelion 2 the day before, turn before, getting in for 5, 9, 13 damage in the air, bringing back the Parhelion, discarding again. But we'll get to it. We'll get to that little thing. So, creatures. Hotshot Mechanic. Can be anything up to crew 4, so that's quite nice. Consulate Dreadnought. It's a 1 mana for potentially a 7/11 artifact vehicle, which is quite big. You could probably drop this out, to be fair. I just include it because I want another artifact vehicle in the deck. But, if you get a few zombies into play, it's 3 zombies maybe. Or, Hotshot Mechanic plus a zombie. So it's not particularly hard to crew if you can get there. Elixir of Immortality, just so we can shuffle everything back in once it gets destroyed, because it will do. Ghoul Caller's Bells in. We want to get our vehicles in the graveyard. Yes, we're milling blind, but it does mean, the chances are we're more likely to hit a vehicle than anything. Oh, sorry, quick yawn. Anything that's really important to us, so keep that in mind. Gear Shift Ace is in, a nice little way of crewing something, and if you can crew a vehicle with it, it gets first strike, so that's quite cool. Giant Ox you've all seen from Kaldheim. You can crew it using its toughness, so basically you get this into play. Every vehicle in this deck can be crewed by it without a word of a doubt. And this is where some of the Brothers' War stuff comes in, because we want to get the artifacts out, and we are only playing 36 lands at the end of the day. I've included quite a few cards in here that produce Power Stones. Power Stone Engineer in this deck I thought was quite good, because yes, you can use it to crew, and then when it dies, you get to use it to cast. Oh, sorry, I'm yawning again. To cast some of the artifacts. So, it leaves you a Power Stone behind. seemed like a reasonable plan for me to get some Power Stones in this deck. So there's going to be a few more cards that do Power Stones. Servo exhibitions in just so we can get some nice cheap tokens to crew with and early blockers if we need them. Soul Ripper is another one of the vehicles that crews for 2. Crew it with this. And when it attacks, you can sacrifice another creature or artifact, and you get to put a +1/+1 counter on against Menace. So, first turn you crew it, it maybe becomes a 5/4 with Menace. Can't complain about that. Power Stone Fracture, sack off something you don't need anymore. You get your nice, and you can kill off a target creature or planeswalker that's annoying you. Returned Reveler. We want to mill stuff into our graveyard, so this came in from the land of Journey to Nyx. I was just remembering I was right before I said it. Yep, when it dies, you get to mill 3 cards. In the meantime, it's acting as a crew fodder for you. Likewise, Wreck Hunter. Enter the battlefield, choose target player. You create a tap Power Stone token for each non-land card in that player's graveyard that was put there from the battle this turn. So if someone blows the board up somehow, and they've done that, you can just go, here we go, bang, go and see what they've got. If you're playing against the spells decks, it says create a tap Power Stone token for each non-land card in that player's graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. So if they blow up, if they blow up a load of sorcery, if someone goes Vandal Blast with the Overload or something similar, or they end up with a handful of cards and have to discard some, it might be worthwhile just going, yay, let's do this and get some Power Stone tokens. It helps with our thing. But it's quite a nice little 2/2 anyway for 2 mana. So, Arcane Signet I've mentioned. Colossal Plow. Attacks, add 3 white mana, gain 3 life. And until the end of turn, you don't lose this mana. It costs 6 to crew it, but again, it's an easy crew you can do. Heart of Kira is a more interesting crew with 3 mana, Flying Vigilance. You can take a loyalty counter off a Planeswalker, and we've got a few coming up. Just swing in with the 4/4 in the air, so there's no problem there. Mech Chiton Core. Yeah, I want to try and get the 10/10 into play, hence why it's here. I don't expect it will ever happen, but I want to try it out because the Flying Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink and Haste, that's all colours. And when the token leaves the battlefield, return all the cards exiled except the core to the battlefield tapped under their owner's control. It's not the worst plan in the world, and it crews for 2 if you need a blocker. So yeah, Sky Skiff for a little bit of flying, crews really easily. Smuggler's Copter again, nice bit of flying, you can draw and discard. It gives you another way of getting the vehicles into the graveyard. And Swiftfoot Boots is here to protect Greasefang once we've got it in play. That's why that's here. Aerial Surveyor, another little artifact from Kamigawa Neon Dynasties, came from one of the commander decks. I was just checking I was on the right card. Attacks, if a defending player controls more lands than you, search your library for a basic plains card, put it to battlefield, tap and shuffle. So it's a nice little bit of ramp. And it's a 3/4 flyer that crews for 2, so that's quite cool. Airlift Chaplain gets you there. You get to chuck them all in your graveyard. You go and get to find a land or get a creature card with mana value of 3 or less. If you don't, you get a 2/2 flyer that's really useful to crew stuff with. Born to Drive is not here to enchant anything. It's to be channeled, so you get the 2 pilot creatures because they can pilot anything that needs crew 3. Imperial Recovery Unit. Attacks, return target creature or vehicle card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. We've got a lot of things with mana value 2 here. So, Gear Shift Ace, Ox, Power Stone Engineer, Mind Ripper, so on and so forth. So it made sense to have that in here. Gix's Crest is in just so we can, if someone's got 1 card in their hand, we can get rid of it and get a Power Stone, help with the casting. Stinkweed Imp is a nice easy way to dredge our deck artifacts into our deck, ready for Greasefang to reanimate. Liliana's Last Hope is just purely here for the -2 ability, mill 2, and then return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Another way of getting the artifacts in there. Etheros I chucked in because maybe it's when our creatures die, we can use this to get them back into our hand because we aren't playing that many creatures. Also, it's a 5/4 that becomes very easily indestructible in this deck, so bear it in mind. Cultivated Caravan, tap mana, mana ramp, that's nice. Crew for 3 for 5/5. Daredevil Dragsters in as well. When it's attack or block, put a velocity counter on it, and if it has 2 or more velocity counters on it, sacrifice it and draw 2 cards. Gets to come back again. You're only sacrificing it, you're not removing it from the game. Bear that in mind. Mobile Garrison attacks, untap another target artifact creature, so helps with your mana ramp. Doink, doink. Raiders Carve is in, attacks, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it on the battlefield tap. Thank you very much, like my ramp. Renegade Freighter, and +1/+1 and trample for crew 2. Thran Spiders from Brothers War. Enters the battlefield, you and an opponent get a tap Power Stone token. Yeah, right then. You give him one away, but it's 3 mana, I can cope with that. And then you can pay 7, look at the top 4 cards. Find an artifact, put it in your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library. So, a little bit expensive, but, you know, the Power Stone's okay. Damnation to control the board. Liliana Untouched by Death to mill our stuff away. We're not going to mill any zombies away, so we are purely doing that for the mill effect. Golden Argosa from Brothers War as well. Oh no, Dominaria United, wrong one. Exile each creature that crewed at this turn, bounce them back in, bring it back into play. Thank you. Khan Living Legacy, because it does create Power Stone tokens for us. Nortoid Ship. Exile targets player's graveyard, deals combat damage for a player, get to go and get one of their creatures you exiled and put it into play. That's nice. It's a 4 mana 5/5 crew for 3 that flies, so I can't complain at that. Stone Retrieval Unit for the Power Stone, Thran Dynamo for the extra ramp, Thundering Chariot because it's 1 crew for a trample, haste and first strike, so it gives people a bit of a nightmare. Weatherlight deals combat damage to player, look at the top 5 cards of your library, find a historic card, put it in your hand. Loads of historic cards. Up to 5, Great Desert Prospector. Enters the battlefield, creates a tap Power Stone token for each other creature you control. So that's quite nice. You know, if you've crewed a load of your vehicles and then you just play this, you get a whole load of Power Stone. So bear that in mind. Mysterious Limousine. Not convinced by this one. But it's 4/4 that crows for 2. Cruise for 2. So maybe. Liana Vess. We can target ourselves to discard our cards or go and search something. Just bear it in mind. Same with Liliana Death's Majesty. This gets us a zombie and we mill 2, so we get a block of 4, which is nice. And so does Lolith. Get 2 spiders, they help crew things, and if they die, you know, whenever a creature dies, we get to put loyalty counters on Lolith, so we're not going to complain about that. Ballista Charger, 3 to crew, attacks, does the damage, pings someone. Again, not great, but it might be useful. Enchanted Carriage from Kaldheim as well. You get 2 mice with it, and it crews for 2, so that's quite a nice little thing. And Sovereign Consul Flagship from, what was it? Kaladesh. Attacks, deal 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. It's a 6/5 in the air that crews for 3, so we're not going to complain. Grave Titan is in because it brings zombies with it to help crew things. Likewise, Worm Coil's in because when it dies, it turns into 2 worms that come back and help crew things. Blood Money to blow the world up, you know, leave all our uncrewed vehicles in play, I should say. Hence why that's here. And we get a load of treasures to help cast even more. Thundersteel Colossus, trample haste for a 2/2. For 2 mana, yeah, 7 to cast it, but hey, we'll get there quite happily. And then Brilliant Restorations in, purely because we can get all our enchantment artifacts back from our graveyard and put them on the battlefield if they get blown up. Seemed like a bit of a no-brainer to me, including, don't forget, Hotshot Pilot, because it's an artifact. Legion Loyalty, because again, a bit like Cacklewood Power in the red deck from Qatar, I want to try and win with this card at some stage, and when we turn everything into a... So, going from there, from the Legion Loyalty, Parhelion 2 is one of the vehicles we want to try and get in your graveyard as soon as you can. It's brilliant. If you can get this in your graveyard on turn 2, turn 3, cast Greasefang, get this back in, crew it with a Greasefang and just go for it. It's amazing. Just 13 damage. I mentioned it already, so bear that in mind. Last 2 cards in the deck. Triumphant Reckoning. I chucked this in as well, purely because, you know, it does return all the artifacts a bit like Brilliant Restoration does. But for the Planeswalkers, if they get blown up or we've ultimated them for some reason, you know, we've been lucky enough to ultimate them, it brings them back as well to repeat the process. The final card, to try and save all our stuff getting blown up, Darksteel Forge. But what this doesn't do is save you things like Cyclonic Rift, so bear that in mind. But it does mean that all your nice artifacts become indestructible, so yeah. That's where we are. Sorry if there was a little break in this video there. I had to stop, had a sneezing fit, and I couldn't quite remember where I was. But anyway, this is Greasefang, Okiba boss. I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Leave me a comment, let me know what vehicles I've missed out, what other cards you'd want to include in the deck. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Come and see me over on Twitch when I'm playing the deck later this week after you've watched this video. I think this video is going up on a Wednesday as things stand at the moment, so I'll probably be playing it on the stream on Thursday night, so you come and see it in action then. But in the meantime, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming and having a look-see. I hope you've hit the like button. I hope you've hit the follow button. And hopefully I will see you very soon on my Twitch stream. Take care. See you soon. Bye.